This is not a trick. This is not a cheat or a gimmick. This is real advice founded in psychological and philosophical practice made to help you take initiative in your life and actually get ahead of 99% of people. First off, there's a reason why those daily routine or guide to success videos didn't end up actually changing your life. Because it's not made for you. It's designed to guide you down somebody else's path. Best case scenario, you could half-heartedly mimic their actions in order to try to replicate their success. But you would be missing the most important part of the equation, you. You would never get ahead of them playing their own game. You have to carve your own path to success. It was Albert Einstein who said, "The person who follows the crowd will go no further than the crowd. The person who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has seen before." You have to find what separates you from the crowd, what makes you different, what makes you authentic. Authenticity is an executive trait that can be applied to all areas of life to help reach your potential and your success. But what is authenticity? What are some of the first steps you need to take in order to carve your own path to success? The older I get, the more and more it feels like I'm being rewarded for being inauthentic. And I don't think it's just me. It seems that when we follow the same trends, take the same opinions, and promote a false image of ourselves, we gain more friends, likes, money, and all those other things that we chase after. So why would others reward us for being this way? What do they have to gain from us fitting in a certain box? Now maybe this is just human nature or the structure of social groups, but in benefiting the group, how much is being lost to you, the individual? There's a reason why we are taught to chase the approval of the crowd. This holds us back from pursuing things within ourselves and gaining value far beyond what can be handed to us by others. Instead of chasing after the goals of others, many philosophers preach the power of authenticity and argued that by embodying their true self, one stood to gain everything, the entire story and moral value of their life. I mean, think about it. At this point in time, you are gifted with a unique history, mind, body, and personality that have never existed in the same way in any human before and will never exist again. This is no accident. It is actually our responsibility to reach our potential and live fully in this life that can only be lived once. The world would be different without you. And the more you sell yourself short in order to fit in out of fear of shame or failure, the less and less of this potential you are reaching. It is only by taking initiative and going out on our own will we find or create anything original, something that's more than just a copy. Let's get rid of this idea that there's some carved out, reassured pathway to success, and that by going about it our own way, we must somehow be doing something wrong. The truth is, if you want to be the best at anything or accomplish something that has not been done before, you must be doing things in a way nobody else is doing them. So if being authentic is so great, why is it so hard for us? Well, the simple answer is because there's no one way of being authentic. If there were, it wouldn't be authentic. Being authentic is hard because we are forced to carve a one-man path for ourselves. Whereas in childhood, it is much easier to be led down the path of least resistance, which teaches us to follow the goals, actions, and behavior of the group. One of the most important parts of a child's development is them becoming socialized. Now, socialization is absolutely necessary for our development. But it teaches us to develop what Carl Jung calls a persona. A persona is a false representation of the ego, the true self. And it is this persona that provides security and safety when we interact with and show ourselves to others. This persona is used to achieve what we want from others and help assimilate our true self with social norms. So we end up seeing the identity that we share with others as a tool or a means to an end, which we can manipulate to achieve some monetary or social gain, suppressed in order to fit into what German philosopher Martin Heidegger calls das Mann, or the they. Das Mann serves to represent the general conception of what one does, meaning the accepted course of action. Das Mann is the ideal of conformity. This is the sum of social norms and expectations which reward inauthenticity and sameness. We use this concept of generality more than we know. Just think of the phrase, "you know what they say," or, "oh, they're now saying that's bad for you." Sometimes when we use the word they in this way, we're not even referring to anyone in particular. We're not referring to the general consensus. This general faceless group dictates so much of what we deem reasonable or normal and how we act and what we chase after. Heidegger taught that this day was different for every individual, based on our family, upbringing, and whatever situation we are currently in. This being in a situation subtly forces us into patterns of what Heidegger calls falling. Falling is carried out by small, often unconscious things that lead us down the path of inauthenticity rather than acting consciously and authentically. We are often falling into social conventions, the traditional image of success, and shallow relationships. The problem is, so much of this falling seems logical or even rational, given that our life and our situation is bound by something called facticity. Facticity is a philosophical concept to describe the many limitations imposed on us by the situation of our human existence. Say, for example, you were a vegan. No, not you. Okay. And you went on a week-long retreat with a group of people, and all they had available to eat was meat or animal byproducts. Maybe the option still exists for you to take a day-long trek to the market and stock up on vegetables, but it's really a pain. It would cost you valuable time and money. Therefore, your situation is bound by facticity. So because of this situation, the option almost barely exists for you to act authentically, which forces you into a state of falling, where in order to not fall behind, you must act against your own conviction. So facticity often necessitates that in order for us to participate in certain social groups or in society, we must be in a state of falling. We often forget that our life, with a capital L, well, not really capital, but the big picture is made up of our life. Waking up, hitting that alarm clock, driving to work, watching TV, all those little mundane things. So what happens to us is that on the everyday micro level, small responsibilities are granted to us rather than chosen by us, which subtly influence our choices and end up directing our life. We usually don't have the courage or the foresight to reject these limitations and be aware of the impact that all these little things have on us. German existentialist Friedrich Nietzsche warned that in having a slave morality, we often feel the need to do the will of others rather than our own, even when we often know what is better for us. So when interacting with the world, being inauthentic is like going with the flow, letting our situation dictate our actions, while being authentic is like swimming against the current. But one of the best tools we have to combat this current of inauthenticity is our conscience. Psychologist Rogers said that we could physically feel when we are being inauthentic or misrepresenting ourselves, like a tearing or turning in the abdomen. This is the true self seeping out from under the mask, willing you to take up the task of living with full engagement in meaningful action. When one reaches this point, the point where it becomes too much to continue lying to yourself, to continue letting your life pass you by without truly living it, Kierkegaard tells us that drastic action is needed. Take the plunge. Alienation is the first step towards authenticity. Nothing meaningful will be accomplished by staying complicit and staying comfortable. Pain is necessary to achieve growth. Isolation is one of the best ways to come in touch and communicate honestly with yourself. In our isolation, a vision can be achieved for the life we want to lead and the values that we want to lead us. Physician Gabor Mate says that we must ask ourselves with kindness, understanding, and compassion why we have been doing things a certain way and reach an honest assessment. When we take this step back, we can better see our lives for the opportunity that it is. That is, an opportunity to create a beautiful and meaningful story. After all, what is the money we make and the stuff we buy worth anything if it limits the depth of our experience and makes our lives dull and unimpactful? When we have to work so hard to keep up a certain bank balance or to pay for all the stuff we own, do we actually own all that stuff, or does it really own us? Even being popular means nothing if we have to hide behind a mask around others. This video title may be a little misleading depending on what your definition is of getting ahead on others. What I'm aiming at is something that's higher than what you've probably seen in other videos. Maybe you could achieve a shallow success by being inauthentic, but as you can see from my channel, I think it's a lot more valuable to be true to yourself and seek your own goals than seeking popularity at any cost. If you agree and you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe to my channel and help this message reach a larger audience. Now let's get back to the video. The Dasein was a term created by Heidegger to describe the unique human mode of existence. This Dasein is a process facilitated by the uncovering and identifying of the world and the self, which guides the narrative construction of one's life. So the storying of life was seen by Heidegger as an essential part of our human existence, and this connection to a greater life project was necessary to understand and direct our actions. So Heidegger believed that the true self was not just the sum of emotions or inclinations that we were born with, but actually arose from the in-progress storying which continues until our death. So if we can learn anything from this, it is that the true self is never complete, and that in order to be truly authentic, one must have a life project always in their mind. And when acting out this life project, we must remember that the authentic self is not found in the achievement of the project, but rather the experience, action, and intention throughout the unfolding of the project itself. In order to keep motivation through the suffering and constant push of Das Man in our everyday lives, we must have a strong and incorruptible vision for who we are and what our life means. According to Kierkegaard, a connection to a higher power was necessary to achieve this level of depth and purpose. I do agree with that, but I don't think this connection to a higher power has to come directly from a religious text. I believe that spiritual search and discovery is one of the most important steps in order to become truly authentic. In the modern day, there's really no excuse for being ignorant to religion and spirituality. You can literally find so many texts, debates, and speeches from very insightful teachers all over the internet or at your local library. Now, this may seem like a lot of work, but when you cut out the things that are really there to distract us from our deeper calling to God, you'll see a great amount of time and attention open up to devote towards developing your true self. And the truth is, nothing worth having ever came easy, and no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. This is also kind of a moral necessity, to bring into question the common ethics of your age. I mean, who knows what pitfalls and atrocities people may be blindly walking into and calling it virtue. So instead of just accepting the norms and ethics of our age, we must create a consistent law for ourselves in order to hold ourselves accountable for being authentic in our everyday lives. This may seem like I'm asking you to start your own religion or legal system, but the truth is I'm not asking much more than is demanded of the average person. Our lives are complicated, and the common line between right and wrong seems to get pushed around back and forth every day. I would even argue that no two individuals have the exact same system of ethics and beliefs, because even reading from the same book can elicit vastly different interpretations. But that's not the point of this video. In order to be authentic, it's not so important what your interpretation is, just that you have one at all. And when pairing authenticity with such virtues as perseverance, integrity, clear-sightedness, and openness, this interpretation can act as an executive virtue, which can guide you through any terrain no matter how rocky. When we reach this state of authenticity, it will feel like balance. The inner self will lay in harmony with the outer world, and the mask will melt away from the fire that burns within. The road to authenticity is not only long and treacherous, but it's actually non-existent. If the road had been laid before, then it wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't be your road. But more than anything, a meaningful understanding of the world is necessary to overcome the pitfalls and temptations of inauthenticity. This is one of the main reasons I started this channel, to help others as well as myself to understand ourselves better in relation to the world. I honestly think that if you've watched this far, my past and future videos will likely be very helpful in trying to unravel this understanding and help you find and embody that fire within. So hit that subscribe button, check out some of my other videos, and if you liked it, hit that like button and comment down below. And as always, never stop questioning, talking, and thinking. Thank you.